You can't control the weather, and you can't control the seasons either. And for some, that is already reason enough to give up on one of the best things in life for the next few months. But depending on where you live or how far you are willing to go, there are still possibilities. Especially in countries like Belgium, where the winter is mild and temperatures barely fall under the freezing point. Or long story short, it's raining 7 months straight, and once in a while the sun comes out for 10 minutes just to remind you that it's just going to be shitty after that again. But I truly believe, as an adventure rider, you only need the right gear and the will to step a little bit out of your comfort zone.
My name is Lel Pavey, and I'm a journalist, YouTuber, and
Look, we're probably watching the same videos on YouTube about how people pack for their adventure trips. With fancy riding gear that keeps you warm on the Mount Everest and cool in the Sahara Desert. Sleeping bags and tents that are so high-tech and lightweight that they could be engineered by the NASA. And enough cooking gear to make Gordon Ramsay proud. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, but it's always focused on gear for good weather riding where you have the most awesome weather, and your biggest issue is to find a good campsite where you can use the $1,000 worth of camping and adventure riding gear to live like a hobo. But in winter that changes. Well, no matter if we want to ride a short trip close to home or travel all the way down to the south, the possibility of rain and slippery terrain is extremely high, and something I really don't like is to faceplant myself in the mud again. This is why I would start with a good set of tires. I personally use the Mitas Enduro Trail XT Plus because it's extremely good in muddy and wet conditions. But even when it performs everywhere quite well, I do have to admit it lacks a little bit on longevity on the highway. And here's a question for you. Maybe you've made some experience with another tire that you can recommend, and in the best case, share with us in the comments. But enough of tires, let's get to the luggage and the riding gear. I want to start with the dailies, like the stuff that you need to use every day, go over to the everyday carry stuff, like something you just have with you for every day, and then the riding gear that you wear. Oh, and excuse this really shameless plug here, but if you like this kind of video, why not considering just to subscribe to the channel if you not already have, and maybe even give it a little thumbs up. And if you don't like it, just hit the thumbs down twice. So where's my tent? Oh yeah, I don't need it. Barely campsites are open in winter, and sleeping at 0 degrees outside sucks anyway, especially when you have these open showers and toilets from the campsites. Instead I use Airbnbs or motels, and for that, these Crocs are one of the most important things, because nobody wants to let you into their hotel or motel or Airbnb with this kind of boot full of mud. And then I usually have my left bag full of the stuff which I also need in there, or might need in there, which is usually a nice big towel, because you never know if they have one for you. Some toilet paper when you're at an Airbnb, because also there you never know if they have some for you. An air pillow, because in the worst case, guess what? You never know if they have one for you. And then depending on which kind of Airbnb you use, a sleeping bag for summer with comfort zone 16 degrees, because it's very nice and small packable. But the thing here is, you can take very cheap accommodations in certain areas where you have like multiple person rooms, and then this is really nice. Or you have these wooden shelters on campsites sometimes. They are heated, but not very well insulated. So this will be really nice there as well. And even when you don't want to use it as camping bag, you can still use it as a blanket. And then comes the stuff for the wanted and unwanted stops, like a little DIY jack stand for the bike, the tire patching and chain repair toolkit, a towel for repairs when you have to degrease something or clean something up, and the toolkit with all the tools that I need to completely take this bike apart. Oh, and I shouldn't forget, in this little bag here, I have my fuel bladder, which is really practical when you are quite abroad, and some additional luggage straps for whatever reason. Oh, and of course, the spare tire tube. And then for the more wanted stops, the hot water boiler and a gas canister. With this you can make some nice coffee or even heat up some food, but generally I try to make a stop somewhere and just buy something because it's more comfortable and you can sit in the warmth. But when you're somewhere up high in the mountains, then this thing is really nice to just make a nice hot pot of coffee. In the other bag we have some shoes to go into a restaurant or something, because you don't want to do it with the cross boots or with the Crocs. A nice pant to do the same. And then a lot of base layers, like 2 pants, 2 shirts and 1 which you wear. Some socks, because cross boots are 100% waterproof. As soon as water gets in there, it stays in there. So you need some socks that are going to keep your feet warm even when they're wet. More of these socks. And a little bit of toiletries like deodorant, toothpaste, toothbrush. And some shower gel. Then I have my first aid kit, which is actually just a first aid kit from a car, added by some first aid for the bike, and for in the worst case, a tourniquet. And if you don't know how to use them, look into that. These things are incredibly painful, but when you need them, you're going to be happy to have them. And of course, a little knife, because it's always good to have a little tool like that at hand. And for the very highly possibility that it's raining or wet, I have my yellow rain jacket and overall in there, which is very easy accessible. I also have 2 pairs of gloves with me. The thin ones I use on the trail, which allow me a good feel for the brake and the clutch, and the winter gloves that I use for long distances that are mainly the reason my fingers don't turn black from frostbite. Next we're gonna go through all the things I have every day on me, like underwear. Oh, wrong underwear. Like underwear. This is the base layer and the reason that I'm warm and dry. Because of its modern tech wizardry, it is able to keep the warm air trapped inside and let all the moistureness through, so that I don't cool out and I'm always nice and cozy. And on top of that, we put the heated jacket, which I never ever want to live without again. As soon as you get into lighter terrain or do some easy distance parts on the highway, this thing keeps you nice, cozy and warm. It works with the power circuitry of the bike. You just plug the 12-volt plug into the bike directly to the battery or over a relay, and the heated cables in the jacket get up to, I think, 40 degrees of temperature, and that is so nice. And just, I have this thing now since 3 years, it still works and I just don't want to miss it. And over that layer we put the puffy jacket, or on the trail without the heated jacket underneath. This is a quite expensive one because it's Yamaha branded, or you can get even a more expensive one with already heat layers inside from Moscow Moto. But you can also get cheap versions at Decathlon. They all fulfill the same purpose by trapping the warm air in the inside and not letting the cold air from the outside through. So with that and this little nice fleece bandana, you have everything to keep yourself warm. And everything else that comes on top is either protective gear or just a windbreaker. And as protective gear, I use my old Revit suit, which has seen too many adventures by now, but still gets the job done. And I can take out the protection to just use it as a windbreaker, wearing a mix armor under the puffy jacket, and still use everything in combination. It's just a little bit more difficult with a heated jacket then. So let's come to the really specific gear, and one of those things is probably something you already know, the heated grips. And whatever you do, do not take the original OEM Yamaha ones for the Tenere 700. They suck. Like literally the worst heated grips I've ever used. But you can buy very cheap ones in the aftermarket area. I think from Oxford, and they are really good. Definitely would recommend those. Right here I have my recovery kit and pocket saw, which I now always carry with me. But it gets even more important in winter because it's more wet, more muddy, and the possibility of fallen trees is just higher. Also, there are less people to help. I have needed both in the past and I didn't have it. So something I really know you can need. And something I would also say is don't buy the cheap China saw. The real Nordic pocket saw from Sweden is just way better from quality and it's going to stay sharp and stuff. I'll put a link in the description. And for the recovery kit, if that's something you want to see, I've made a video about that, which I will link at the end. So if you're interested in that, keep on watching. If you've been carefully observing, you will have recognized that I didn't take anything out of the duffel bag. That's because mainly I just have this thing full of camera stuff. So that's probably less of interest for you. But if that's something you would be interested in, what I take with me to make videos, what kind of gear I use to make videos, write it in the comments. And if you do winter riding or winter adventure riding in particular and have any suggestion, also feel free to leave those in the comments. So here's the video about the recovery kit and the pocket saw. I hope this video had some value for you and I hope to see you next time.